Hello everyone, this is Razzle from I A Better Human, and we have here Kelly Palencia, and she's the founder of Handmade in Norway.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and thank you so much, Kelly, for letting me visit you in your lovely home.
Thank you for coming all the way here. Well, actually not that, but now I know we live quite close together, which is lovely.
Yes, it was really convenient.
Yeah.
I was like, I would just visit her every weekend.
Come. Like I said, we have an open door policy here.
All right, so the reason why I came here is for us to get to know a little bit about Kelly, because she's one of that inspires me, one of the few here in Oslo that I appreciate and inspire me to continue pursuing my goals.
Thank you, that's a lovely thing to say.
Yes. And yeah, so I think you have done great things that it may be subtle and only few people can really see the work that you've done. And I know it doesn't matter because you're doing this for your own, happiness, or
Yeah. It's all happened by itself with a little bit of pushing and nudging and guiding on my part. But yeah, it's sort of 3 years of watching something grow and enjoying it and discovering that other people enjoy it too.
yes. Yeah, but before we continue, tell us or tell our viewers what is Handmade in Norway and
It's Handmade in Norway. It's a creative community, I guess I can call it that. It started with a Facebook group that consisted of just me, and I wanted to reach out to people that were in a similar situation to me, creative, perhaps not done anything creative for a while, or wanted to share what they were doing, or be inspired, or meet other creative people, really. So it started just with me, and very, very quickly it grew into a substantial sized group. It's not huge, but it's growing day by day. We're about 3,200, I think, now, after 3 years. Yeah. And it's evolved, so now it's moved out of the Facebook group. I'm arranging markets down at Salt. I also partner up with Visitløkka, and we arrange markets there. And workshops when I have time, and get fantastically creative people like yourself to come in and teach.
yeah,
Because it's great to keep learning too. Yeah. So that's what keeps me busy.
yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of things on your table that with family and all.
Yeah. I have. We have 2 kids too. So there's a lot of juggling of things that need to be done all the time. But no, that's no different to everybody else. We do what we love to do. If we're lucky, we get to do what we love to do, and I'm in that situation.
Yeah. It's good. And before you reach to where you are now, we would like to know a little bit about your childhood. How was it?
Okay. I grew up in a very idyllic little village in England. My family's from the southeast of England, a place called Essex, but more sort of in the countryside of Essex. So I actually grew up in a tiny village called Fanbridge on the Thames estuary. And it was that childhood where I had so much freedom. I could just wander around the village and go and see my friends and have that freedom. And everything was green and lovely, and I was very fortunate. And we had a nice big garden, so I'd be outdoors a lot. And that's something I still appreciate now. I love to be outside.
Do you have something during your younger years um, that leads you to where you are now? I mean, something that it wasn't maybe so clear during that time, but you really enjoyed doing, and then it gives. It's like a tool, or.
Yeah, I think not so much that I was doing, but my grandmother lived with us, my mum's mum, when I was young, and both my mum and my grandmother super creative people. They both, my grandma passed away a few years ago, but she was fantastic at making clothes. She made pretty much all of her own clothes. My mum also is very, very skilled with the sewing machine and made a lot of my clothes as a kid. But one very vivid memory with my grandma, she loved to make these little flowers. So she'd spend a lot of time twisting bits of wire into the shape of petals and leaves, and then she dipped them in. It's like a resin.
Yes.
Dipped them in. She had these lots of little cans of resin, and when she was working on this stuff, the smell in her area of the house was just like, it's
So
quite overwhelming. Yeah. But the things the beautiful flowers that she managed to create, and I just remember it so vividly because all these fantastic colours, and the patience that was involved as well, because she had to dip each one, I don't know, quite a few times, 4 or 5 times probably, and then set them all out to dry, and then bring all the little elements together and twist them into the flower that she was making. And I just remember watching her and being absolutely amazed at what she could make, but also the work that was behind it, all the individual steps that were involved. And she was a passionate gardener as well. I guess that's why she chose to do something creative with flowers.
Yes.
So when it was cold and miserable outside, she'd be inside making these beautiful flowers as well. Yeah.
So she was like your model somehow,
Yeah, and my mum and my dad too, because my dad, whilst not being sort of very outgoingly creative, I remember he used to sit down and draw for myself and my brother, and he was very good at drawing some of these quirky caricatures. So he'd ask us, okay, what kind of hats what kind of hat are they wearing, and he'd draw it. Are they wearing a bow tie or a normal tie, or whatever, and he'd just draw it. And I think things like that, when you're a kid, they entertain you and they inspire you at the same time. You can do that. You can draw anything.
Yes.
My mum as well.
She's so magical for you then.
Yeah, it really was. And my mum is very artistic. She paints and she draws and the making clothes as well. So I had a very creatively influential childhood, I think.
Yes.
And grew up with an admiration for crafts.
Yeah. And now you are, maybe the point of Handmade Norway is not really to inspire others, but for you to build this community, to maybe help out, to earn something for what they've been doing as their passion. But the truth is, you have been inspiring people and making people like they have someone to can relate to, and but I'm sure it's not easy to be in this road or this journey. Tell us how you manage this, with all the challenges along the way.
Firstly, I think it feels as though it's been quite organic, at least in the beginning. So the Facebook group grew, so the network got bigger. My influences got bigger, and people's expectations changed, I think, as well. So that's kind of the first challenge was starting markets. Somebody mentioned, oh, can't we do markets? That's kind of got that whole ball rolling. And I had some help with the first market. And it wasn't the most successful market, but it was a huge learning curve. And yeah, I think in the beginning it was all very organic, and it grew, and I've kind of felt like I was just running afterwards, trying to catch up with what was happening, and trying to steer sometimes. But I don't find it that challenging because I enjoy it so much.
But in the beginning, you need to know some connections, this kind of things, like who to, for example, with your, in doing these markets, these are not easy, right? Or did you just research, or how did you do it? Like,
no, I have a tendency to say yes to things.
Yeah.
Without thinking about the consequences. I'm very spontaneous. I'm getting better now that I've recognised that my spontaneity can be a good thing, but it can also get me into trouble sometimes.
Yes.
So, like joining up with Salt to do these markets. They invited me. So I was very fortunate. Again, it happened organically. I didn't step in and say,
yes.
I want to do bigger and better. It just, the opportunity came to me. And I said yes. And then I realised afterwards, oh, actually that's quite scary.
Yes.
How am I going to do that? And then thought, well, there's no point worrying about it. I'll approach the network that we have and see who wants to join. And it proved to be mostly successful. We've had some ups and downs there too, but you have to be willing to fail sometimes. And I think I feel as though I've failed quite a lot. It's not necessarily what other people say, I don't think. But I think that's maybe one of my biggest challenges, is managing my own expectations.
Yes.
I may be very, very spontaneous, but I'm also a bit of a perfectionist.
Yeah, that's funny because this second episode that we did, Richie and I, it was all about expectations. So
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you mentioned about failures and mistakes, because my next question is, what was your biggest mistake that you learn a lot? So will you be able to share that with us?
Now I have to think. I don't know. I think, I
something that you
I guess partially a failure. When I had the studio in Nagurumbuck, I loved that studio, absolutely loved it, but it was an expensive place to run. So I probably jumped in a bit too soon with that one. I loved being there, and it was a great creative space. Cold in the winter, it was crazy, and expensive to run. So it didn't, it gave... Yeah, didn't you do a workshop there once? I think you came to one of Julia's calligraphy workshops.
Oh, okay, so this place, yes.
And we did a meeting there.
Yes,
yes. So it was a great place. I enjoyed being there, but often I was the only one there, and it was a big space, and it was cold, and it was expensive. And then the last year we turned it into a sort of gallery / shop.
Bazaar.
Yeah. And I did some markets there, so it was a great place, and I loved it. But probably that came too early. I think I bit off a bit more than I could chew there.
Yeah.
I probably should have waited a few years before trying to launch something like that. But that being said, I've tried it and I want to do it again, but now I've learnt, a lot from that rather expensive mistake. Yeah, I've learned a lot about finances and budgeting and all of that, but also not running. You know, it's okay to walk. It's okay to be a bit more cautious and take a bit more time, put a bit more thought into things. Not be as spontaneous as I
give it a night or two, perhaps.
Yeah, this habit of just saying yes on the spot, I have to stop doing that because
you just said yes to me. Did you regret this?
See, I've clearly not got any better. You know, I still just say yes to it. No, but it's you, Razzle. I mean, it's not a stranger coming into my house and asking me questions.
But yes, talking about this studio, that was the first time that I met you. And the reason why, the first time I met her was joining. Oh, I didn't. Have I? Yeah, I think it was Julia's calligraphy workshop, and then after that, but I did not meet you at that time. The first time that I met
was
you,
there, but there was a market at the same time.
all right.
So I was outside at the time. Yeah.
But the very first time that I really met and talked to you was when you had this like just doing arts or anything, like doodling or that was
That's true. Yeah.
And and we were like speaking in Norwegian. And then we can speak in English.
Yeah, we can actually.
I was really having a hard time speaking in Norwegian.
But you know, wasn't that Drodleklubben? The intention was that we got together and we just sat and drew whatever we wanted to get into a sort of relaxed state, to open up to conversations.
It's like
in
you're
Norwegian.
doodling.
Yeah.
I think it was the second time you did this doodle thing, and that's the time that I joined. And I was sharing to you that I have this, I want to do calligraphy, and I was just starting there, you know, to learn this and that, my challenges here in Norway. And and the first time that I met you, we already have deep conversations. So that is why I'm here.
That's nice.
Yes.
It's wonderful when you can make a real connection with somebody after such a short amount of time.
And I also want to say this on the record because I've told you this many times. What I appreciate about you is that your generosity of giving information, and you're not this, because for example in the community they could just ask anything, and maybe you have had this question many times, but you were just there, replying and giving them information, and before you say go to this link or that link, you just give this like main information that they needed, and I think for that it's a good example of building a community or even a business, that you go right away into service rather than what can I get from you. And and I'm a type of person that observes a lot with one's personality and characteristics, and this was the main observation that I have in you, that you just give, and you don't really like, hey, you need to give something to me too.
No.
So
I mean, in an ideal world, Handmade in Norway would bring in an income, because proportionately it uses up a lot of my time.
Yes.
But I didn't start it to make money. I started it because of the community that I felt I didn't have, and that's how it's grown to be what it is. And I am that kind of person as well. If you need to know something and I have an answer, it might not be exactly the right answer, but an answer from my standpoint, then I'll share information, because it's not my information to hold to myself.
Yes, yes.
And if me sort of giving my opinion or giving a little bit of help one way or another can really help somebody make something out of their creativity, then I'm all for it, because I think creative people, your creativity is a part of you. And I've been in the situation where I didn't use that part of me for a long time, and I felt very much as though it was missing. Something was missing. I wasn't always aware of what it was, but there was a hole there. And I know that it's a very easy trap to fall into. Just you just haven't got time to prioritise doing something creative. But it can mean so much to you. Just having the opportunity to sit down and draw or doodle or do some calligraphy or something and clear your thoughts and just focus on that.
And let the stresses of the day melt away. Yes. Then I'm all for encouraging people to do that, because I know how important it is.
Yeah, and it's not just about the information, but yes, the time, which is very, time is equal to money, at least for me. And you giving your time there, like genuinely, that I really appreciate so much. And of course, the support that you give to the community, those who wanted to start a business or whatever, and they have someone to run to and ask questions and help each other. So
yeah, absolutely. It's not just me handing out answers in the group.
It really is.
People, and if somebody asks a question and I know who can answer it, then I'll tag that person. So I'll bring other people into the conversation, because if I don't have the answer, then there's somebody else that has that information.
And before visiting you in your studio, actually research first. If there's like a community I can, or like a group I can visit to, about art and stuff. And that's how I found you. And I was like, oh, finally, because the truth is, it's not easy to find art community here in Norway, which is like free. You need to pay for it, and if you want to join this or hear a workshop, you need to pay for it. So this doodling thing is like, oh, this one is free. And and up until now, I really appreciate that day that I researched you, because during that time I was really in kind of I can't say depressed, but you're a bit down. You need some connection outside from home. So it was really something that saved me from insanity or overthinking and stuff. So
even without realizing it, people can lift other people.
Yes.
It can be as simple as smiling at somebody that you don't know who might be out and having the worst day of their life, but just seeing somebody else smile can lift you, or having somebody that's interested in what you have to say, or just that spark of connection. Sometimes when you meet somebody, you can instantly have interesting and deep conversations with, or not, or comfortable silences, whatever. I think we are sociable creatures.
yes.
Some of us more than others. I mean, I'm not always the most social person in the world. I enjoy my own time. I'm quite happy to spend time on my own. And that's perfectly fine. I'm comfortable with that now.
Yes.
But even somebody like myself who's very much a lone wolf, I do need to get out and meet people, connect with people, and we have that.
That's why I also appreciate this meats in meats.
Yeah.
The meat part I like as well as the eating part. It's like, oh yes, food.
We've had some great meals together.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah. The concept is just that, you know, we get together. We've done it here. We did it in the studio the first time. We've been other places in the park, on one of the islands as well. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. And everybody just brings something.
Now I'm kind of confused. If we met in the meet and eat first or in Doodle,
Yeah, I'm not sure actually.
what would you like to say for those who are starting to, you know, maybe build a business or a community, or would like to, you know, do a passion that they're a bit skeptical to start, how to start, and, you know, just simple steps to get there.
Yeah, I think the thing that I hear the most is that people, pretty much everybody who makes something, you end up with a large quantity of what you're making. So the thought is, the thought always pops up that, yeah, maybe I can sell it. But then the next step of actually starting to do it, that's where people stop, because it's a scary concept. Not just the business side of it, but also, you know, taking that step to show what you're making and get genuine, good or bad reactions from people.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's you're making it not just with your hands but with your heart.
Yes.
And you know, what if somebody doesn't like it? And that comes up at markets as well. People, it's very, it's sensitive, you know. But if you want to sell, you have to work through that process. So that the thing I spend a lot of time doing is encouraging people to just go for it. The tax side of things is the thing that puts most people off once they get over the idea of actually showing what they're making. But that's not actually as bad as most people think it is. Especially coming from a hobby basis. You can do that for quite some time without having to register a business.
Yeah.
So my advice is to just give it a try. Sign up for a local market, because you don't have to have a business to sell at the market.
Yes.
You can be a hobby basis, you can be an individual person. Sign up, see how it goes. Small steps.
Yes.
Get out there and meet people and
Yeah.
start getting feedback and reactions. And, it's not as scary as it appears on the inside. You know, you can make problems much bigger in here, but
True,
when you actually
true.
get out and meet people and get things started, it's not that bad.
Yeah, and you can always, you know, check her website, and there's a lot of information there. And yeah,
Join the Facebook group and
Yeah.
meet more people and get involved. Yeah.
Yes, it's true. For many years now, you know, women are becoming more independent, and not just mother at home, but, you know, doing this work and being creative, making food. You know, we are very good in multitasking, and yeah, so it's good to see that our children, I mean, it's good that our children will be able to see this, that as a woman we can do a lot.
Absolutely.
You know, not just
Absolutely. No, it's true. It's important, and I love having the kids come to markets as well,
yes,
because they can then experience and get to see all the wonderful products and meet the people that have made them. It's a love-hate thing having my kids there. I love it because they get a lot from it. I find it incredibly stressful having them there, though.
yeah, I think I
It's
can
kind of like,
understand that.
it's kind of, the mummy's working.
Yes.
But no, it is great to be able to inspire them in one way as well, and give them the opportunity to learn and express themselves, see other people expressing themselves, and as a mother to a daughter, like you say, show her that we can be independent, we can actually do what we want to do.
Yes.
We don't need to be restricted by social stereotypes.
Yes.
If you want to do it, if it's in your heart to do it, then go and give it a try.
Yeah. So that's good. So I encourage the mothers out there who has this passion, and because there was a time in my life where I thought I needed to choose, from a career to being a parent. I even have this thinking before that, once I will have a child, I will be really just focus on her or him up to she's 7 years old. It's like that was like my thinking, and but no, we can definitely do career and family.
Absolutely. And from my side of things, I needed that as well.
Yeah.
I love my kids with a passion, but whilst I was at home being mum, I lost quite a lot of my own identity. So having projects like Handmade, has helped me to pull out that part of me that kind of got pushed to the back of the, it wasn't a priority, and so it was kind of missing. So yeah, you have to have stuff that pulls you out of, just being mum, just being housewife, because we can be so much more than that.
Yeah.
If we explore ourselves and what we're interested in, and follow our hearts and encourage that passion and creativity or whatever it is to come out. But I think that's the same for men as well. It's just
Definitely.
I think as women, we expect a lot of ourselves. We expect ourselves to be the perfect mother.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was really nice chit-chatting with you, and for our viewers to know you better.
Yeah.
And maybe next time we will have round 2, or we will talk about pricing. That's one of our challenges as an artist.
Absolutely.
That's another topic.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely there for that conversation, because it's really difficult.
Yeah.
Everybody I know who sells what they make struggles with that. And
Even it's actually, I just realized that depending on the price that I give is depending on how I feel about myself. If I'm confident about myself, then I can, my price is more reasonable, and if I don't feel confident, then it's lower than it should be.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
It's about valuing what you can do and what you can create. And guarantee everybody sells the prices are too low. I walk around markets and people ask me all the time, how much, what is this price right? And I'm like, no, you should double that. And the reaction is always, no.
For me, it's like, really? I can't.
But I'm seeing it from the other side of the table. I'm seeing it from the customer's eyes. Now, what would I actually pay for that?
Yes.
Of course, I'd love to get it cheaper.
Yeah.
But
I can also pay it in this price.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, because of my background, I have that appreciation of how long and how much work
from your brand.
Absolutely. So, and I appreciate the time that's gone into it, and the skill, and the not just the amount of time that's gone into making it, the amount of time that's gone into learning how to make the thing in the first place. And that's all part of the price. It's you can't just look at the material costs. Anyway, this is another conversation for another time.
We will definitely find time for that.
Absolutely. I think that would be very interesting.
Yes. All right. And so where can they find you if they would like to check on you or check out
Well, we're Facebook is where I'm hanging out most of the time. Well, not most of the time. I do have life outside of Facebook, but I'm there a lot. So find the Handmade in Norway Facebook page, which will lead you to which will then lead you to the Facebook group. So join that and become a part of the network and see what other stuff is going on.
Yes, please do check her. And if you're into arts, you know, if you live in Norway, go ahead, and we have a community here, you know, that you can run and get to know more about, you know, what you're struggling in with your business, or hobby that you would like to be one day a business.
Ask questions, and you know, the 3,000 or something of us will, between us, crack out an answer. Or 10.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kelly. That was really
Thank you for coming. Thank you for
I
coming.
really
Thank you
appreciate
for inviting me.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see you. Bye. Is that good?